Good evening, I'm Tara Lynn Wagner, and welcome to a special edition of Richard French Live, Sing Sing Education Behind Bars. In the past decade, most federal and state funding for prison inmates has been slashed, and as a result, correctional facilities nationwide have been forced to look outside their walls for educational assistance. Recently, RNN was granted exclusive access to New York's Sing Sing Correctional Facility, a maximum security prison located in Westchester County, just 35 miles north of Midtown Manhattan, to see how the men serving time there are being allowed to earn a college education. The program is funded by Hudson, a nonprofit organization that's committed to helping the inmates prepare for more constructive and meaningful lives, both during their incarceration and upon their release. Tonight, we're going to hear from the prison supervisor about the effect education is having upon the population at Sing Sing. We'll talk to the president of John Jay College about how society benefits from offering these men a chance to succeed. And most importantly, we'll hear from the inmates themselves about how they have personally been transformed. And later on, we want to hear from you. Do inmates deserve a college education? We'll be taking your calls and reading your emails. But first, last month, I was given a tour of Sing Sing to see firsthand how the Hudson Link program is changing life for the men behind bars. After the Attica riots in the 1970s, Governor Nelson Rockefeller promised to give prisoners a chance for an education. Lawmakers agreed to fund college programs at all New York State prisons and kept that promise until the mid-90s, when Congress voted that convicted felons could no longer apply for Pell Grants for higher education. In 1995, Governor Pataki followed their lead, pulling all state funding for college programs in prisons, shutting the door on inmates looking to improve themselves and their chances. Dr. Ann Reisner was volunteering at Sing Sing at the time.
One of the men I remember saying to me, when the education money dried up, they knew that hope would be scarce in the prison, and that education equaled hope.
Hope is hard to come by within the walls of the Sing Sing Correctional Facility. The maximum security prison is located in Ossining, 30 miles north of New York City, hence the phrase, up the river. Beyond the barbed wire fences and the barred windows, the brick buildings house roughly 1,700 men. In Housing Block A, they live in tiny cells with little to do. They're here for a reason: robbery, assault, murder, and they'll stay here in many cases for decades. Still, as superintendent, Brian Fisher strongly believes in the need for education. If you're just at the beginning and you know that you're going to be here for 30 more years, why even get that education?
Because education frees them. Education gives them a chance to do other things even inside the prison. They'll get involved in things a little more intellectual than just going in the yard and pumping iron. Most people don't understand that 99% of all the inmates in New York State are going to come home at some point in their career. Everybody you see in jail in Sing Sing, sooner or later, will be on the street. Would you rather have them educated or not educated?
Initially, it was the inmates themselves who struggled to bring education back to Sing Sing following the end of the state-supported program in 1995. By June of 2000, Hudson Link began privately funded classes, collaborating first with Nyack College and then with Mercy College to bring professors and teachers to the prison 4 days a week. Today, they teach all the courses necessary for the men to earn a bachelor's degree in behavioral science. The classes are held in this schoolhouse overlooking the Hudson River. Here, students learn everything from computer skills to logical thinking, while outside they can hear the sounds of their fellow inmates playing ball in the yard. They sacrifice rec time for school time. It's a choice none of them regrets.
When I first came to prison, I played basketball all the time, but then I realized one day that it's not rehabilitating me. There are no scouts from Syracuse, Connecticut, Notre Dame coming here, so I needed to do something for myself.
Douglas Duncan is serving 16 to 32 years for robbery.
I love Othello. I've seen so much of myself in his story.
This June, he'll graduate with an associate's degree.
It's a big moment for me, but I think more so for my mother, just to see the look on her face when they called me to get my diploma. Because I had this one memory of her when I went to trial, and I turned around to look at her, and I could see that she'd been up all night, like, crying, and that always stuck in my mind. So I made a promise to myself that day that the next time she cried over me, it'd be for good reasons, not for a bad reason. I just want to see her face that day when they give me the diploma. Really, it's for her and for my kids. I want to give them a reason to be proud to say I'm their father. I gave them enough reasons to hold their head down, by getting myself arrested, getting locked up. But I just want to give him one good reason to say that's my daddy.
Rashawn Smalls was serving 25 to life for second-degree murder in a maximum security prison 20 minutes from his home in Buffalo. He left his family behind and transferred to Sing Sing specifically for the opportunity to earn a college degree.
At first they thought I was crazy, but this is something I felt deeply, I felt committed to. You know, for the first time in my life, having the opportunity to get a college degree and be the first child, my mother's first child to get a college degree.
Is she going to be proud in 2 years when you get that degree?
Absolutely, absolutely. In fact, you know, part of what I'm doing right now is for her, and in a sense, because coming to prison, there's a lot of shame involved with being in prison, a lot of hurt, a lot of pain, you know, and for me, it is proven to her that my life, her bearing me, it wasn't in vain.
Rashawn lives in Housing Block 7, the honor block at Sing Sing. Cell doors are open during the day, allowing the inmates a bit more freedom. Several of the residents here are enrolled in Hudson Link, including Jose Jimenez, who's serving 25 years to life for second-degree murder, and Rasan Johnson, who's serving 23 to 50 years for attempted robbery. He spends his time studying, in his cell during the day and in the evening at the schoolhouse.
Prior to Hudson Link, I can be compared to the caterpillar, you know, the hairy, ugly little worm that just goes about. But when I came to Hudson Link, it provided me with the education and nourishment needed for transforming into a beautiful, life-giving butterfly.
Why do you think people on the outside should be concerned about you turning into a butterfly? Why should that be their problem?
Well, they would have the caterpillar to deal with then. You know, if education is not in prison, then the caterpillars will go back out into society. You know, and then when they go back out into society, they bound to repeat the same behavior that they did to get them in here.
Ultimately, Hudson Link affects far more than the men in the classroom. It rubs off on the other inmates they come in contact with inside these prison walls.
The men that are in the program now, they're the men who are going to influence others in the prison system, that they become leaders for the good, not negative. They become mentors to others.
And if the funding were to disappear, as it did 10 years ago?
You would see a lot of, especially the 75 inmates involved in the program today would be very depressed. And the inmates who are looking forward to going into education would be even more depressed. So there's a process going on. If you take the process away, you've got nothing but doing time. And that's the worst thing anybody can do, just do time.
Of course, there are those who say that's the point. You do the crime, you do the time. Society doesn't owe you anything, least of all a free education. The men at Sing Sing believe they're living examples of why that attitude is wrong.
And if they give me a second chance, I will take advantage of it, especially for my children, my family, and for the whole society. I'm going to show them that the money that they're investing ain't going to be waste.
So if more support is given and the program is expanded, you'll make it possible for brothers who are on the waiting list to come in, or you make it possible for more living examples to go back out there into the yards, for those people who can see that something has changed in that man.
So do you see yourself as a motivating force now within the community here?
Yes, I still see myself as that. In fact, some of the older guys and some of the younger guys, they see me throughout the corridors of the prison, and they say to me, "Hey, young scholar," you know, and it makes me feel real good that they're able to say that, because they see something in me that they didn't see before.
Now, a few weeks after I met these students, I returned to Sing Sing to attend their graduation. Coming up, we'll witness their family's emotional reaction. Plus, we'll hear from the head of the class. It's a powerful speech, and you won't want to miss it, so don't go away.